I think the moment that I realized that I was an artist was the moment that I realized that being an artist is part of your identity. What made you realize you were an artist? Was there a particular moment, a particular process?
Yeah, artist. Artist probably at NTI was when that term was really pushed on me.
Yeah, I think it was when I was 11. I was on a bus to a field trip, and didn't really know anybody. It was like my first summer at this summer camp, and I was sitting alone in the back of the bus, and I'd brought with me this notebook in which I'd written this story like 2 summers earlier.
I think going through NTI and being able to do, at least in the theater world, all parts of that creative process, they really emphasized bringing your artistry to the table and being a multi-hyphenate artist, and artist kept being a word that was used a lot. And I think I can't think of a specific moment, but I think throughout my time there it was like, yeah, like what I do not everybody can do, and that doesn't mean I'm the best at doing it, but I am the best at my way of doing it.
And I was like editing it because I was being professional, and my counselor like came towards the back and like sat across from me and was like, "What are you doing?" And I told him. He was like, "Oh, well, like I'm a writer too. Like, could I read some of it?" And I was like, "Sure." So I showed him like the last chapter, which was a paragraph, and he read it, and he told me that he liked it and that he thought it had promise. And I basically have been writing ever since, and then used that and segued into theater and other things.
I think storytelling at the end of the day is what keeps me going as an artist, wanting to tell stories that are not often told, wanting to tell stories that are uncommon, that really move audiences, that really move people.
The through line is that when I'm motivated, I care about the work, and I care about who I'm making the work with, and then who I'm making the work for.
And at the end of the day, I think it's about human connection and connecting with people through stories.
And for me, honestly, it is a lot for myself, but I find if I'm connecting to it and I'm putting my all into it, then my hope is that others will come on that journey with me. And whenever I hear that I have done that for somebody, it's like the most humbling and fulfilling compliment like I could hear.
For a really long time, I've always known that theater will be a part of my life once I graduated high school and college. But it wasn't until I got to college that I became secure enough in my talent and in myself to be able to say that I could do it like in a more professional capacity after I graduated.
It's hard, it's scary, it's it's something new, it's different, you're not protected in the same space that you have been for the last 4 years.
This whole process of trying to figure out what exactly the next steps are has been a lot. For me, it's been applying to graduate school, and that's not the case for everybody. But that's what it's been for me.
But it's also really exciting. You're trying something new. There's a sense of trust that comes with that, I think, and that's it's both scary and exciting at the same time, that you're trusting yourself really above all else, that you have the education that you need, and that you can go into the world and make art on your own.
On my own accord, would rehearse by myself in a room like this for multiple hours, and then go and do my other commitments. And being in a room by yourself where you are your only critic has its tolls.
I think the biggest fear is probably, well, maybe not the biggest, but one that's been on my mind recently is putting all of this energy and effort and money and time into my artistry or into school or whatever, and then getting out into the real world and realizing, oh, I don't actually want to do this. Like, not even from a, like, I can't do this perspective, but just a, like, I don't want to do. Like, admitting defeat feels much easier than realizing that this isn't actually what I want to be doing.
My greatest fear is that I'm not good enough. Like, I for many years I thought that I was not good enough at the piano. I still have self-doubts about that. I have doubts about how I teach music, my own pedagogical questioning as well, and so all of that is kind of looming on my mind. But at the end of the day, I think, like I said before, there is no one way, there is no right way to do this. I don't have to be the same music director that Joe Schmo is down the hallway, who is a fantastic pianist, and I don't have to be the same. And so, which is kind of an interesting dichotomy, because you look up to all of these mentors, and you see all these people. So it's finding that balance between, like, absorbing everything that all of the greats teach you, and all of these fantastic mentors in your lives teach you, but it's also finding the balance of what's really yours, and what's, at the end of the day, what makes your heart sing. What are you good at? Finding your niche is essentially, I think, what is important to overcoming those fears.
I don't want to just take a job because I have to take a job for my next paycheck. I don't want this thing that I'm spending my heart and soul into to suck the life out of me. I want to give myself to it, and I want it to give back. And I hope that doing that I'll get out what I'm putting in, and I don't have to, and maybe I will sometimes, but consistently sell myself out.
I went through a period last year where I felt like I couldn't write anymore. Like, my stories, emails, cover letters, like everything I wrote, I was like, this is horrible. And like, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, if I didn't have that, it wasn't even like, who am I? It was, what do I do with my life if I don't have this? Because it's always been everything I needed it to be. And so once you come to that realization that, like, even despite all of the effort and work and emotional toll it can take, once you, like, if you dedicate your life to it, it can be rewarding, and losing it can be more damaging than going through all of the crap that comes with it.
I think for me, this transition has been about like, is this something that you want to do? And I think, you know, with writing my thesis in theater, although it's been very difficult and it's been hard to motivate myself creatively, but with that and with all the different creative projects I'm doing and the show that I'm going to be doing during short term that I'm putting together, that I'm like really excited about and I'm like really thinking about all the time. Like, I'm doing all these different things and I'm thinking about making a website for myself and you know, finding ways to, like, I don't know, even like, you know, like build a collective or organization with like my peers to like do after college. Like, I'm thinking about all of these things a lot. And then, you know, I go back and I'm like, wait, do I even want to do this? But I think the fact that I'm thinking about these things is important to recognize in the sense that, like, yeah, like, this is something I'm thinking about. This is something that I feel very strongly about. And even in those moments where I'm like, I never want to touch theater again, like, I don't want to deal with this bullshit, like, ultimately, I'm still thinking about it. Ultimately, I'm still an artist. Ultimately, I'm still a storyteller. Making that decision to take that next step was something that I did after years and years of suppressing a dream. And so if I just give it up because I've had some shitty experiences, then what does that say to that part of myself that, you know, took that stance and stood up for himself in, you know, amongst people that, you know, weren't as supportive of this path, whether that be physically or, you know, directly or indirectly. I don't know. I it's been hard, but I think deep down I know that I can't give it up. I can't give this up because it's too crucial and to who I am, and it's just too important. At the end of the day, like, this is a part of me, and I have to push through that. Because if I want to be happy, then I don't see a world where giving this up, where not going on this journey makes me happy. I have to take the journey because I think I won't be happy without it. I'm afraid that I won't be happy. And my dream is to be happy while doing this. I think that's, you know, what it all, I mean, at the basic level, like, that's just kind of what it is. Yeah, happiness, fulfillment, think that's about it.